Hello, welcome to Ada Continues, episode 299. Holy moly, that's like one before 300. Episode 299 coming at you right now. This is a weekly podcast posted up every Monday in which we talk about video games related topics, and it goes up before that on youtube.com slash Ada Continues as an MP3, but on Mondays it goes up on adacontinues.com as youtube.com slash Ada Continues as a video, and it goes up before that on Mondays. Let me start over. Take two. This is a weekly podcast. Posts up every Monday on adacontinues.com as an MP3, in which we talk about video games related topics. And then it goes up before that on youtube.com slash adacontinues as a video. And I am your host, Stafa. This week I have a big surprise. Kevin.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
And I'm doing fine. And this week's episode segments will include our main topic, which will be someone that's not doing so fine, named EA,
Yeah.
and their little Battlefront 2 thing that they did. After that, we got some announcements and some news. But before we get into all that, want to do a quick disclaimer that all opinions expressed on the show are of our own and not of our employers, whether past, present, or future. Hashtag don't fire Staffa. So anyways, let's talk about EA. Fun fact, the gym I go to is in the office building that EA used to be in.
Mm.
In fact, this little tiny street next to it that like leads to the parking lot, the parking garage, is EA Way. Because I'm pretty sure they like made that street specifically for EA when EA used to be there.
Very nice.
Yeah. Not sure what EA is now, but it's definitely not EA Way. Because that's where my gym is at. So yeah. Battlefront 2. Let's talk about that, Kevin. And let me move this thing over here so I can hear myself. There we go. I sound more like a human all of a sudden. So yeah. Battlefront 2 came out. People are outraged. And that's because Battlefront 2's multiplayer has like a loot box system where like everything is locked out from the get-go. I mean, it has like an upgrades or a progression system similar to most other uh, multiplayer shooters. What they have these days that kind of got popularized by Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, in which the more you play the game, you start unlocking stuff and level up. And just about every multiplayer shooter has that, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 decided they want to rather have things unlock as people play, is to give points that could go towards loot boxes to unlock stuff, and that's how they want to do the progression system. So you open up a loot box, and I think 4 items come out of it. It's 4 random items, and if you get a duplicate item, then that goes towards more currency, so that you can use that towards like unlocking heroes. I believe you don't play as the hero character like right off the bat when you enter the map. You have to like get a power up or something to play as the hero. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when you start off the round, you're basically playing as basic units. So if you're on one side, you're playing as the clones. On the other side, you're playing as the droids. And I guess it also changes depending on which map you're on.
Yeah.
But then each side has their special characters. Like you could have Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Rey and Darth Vader and all of these special characters. And there's a lot more
And the
actually.
broken Yoda.
Yeah, but like all of these characters, they cost a certain amount of points to be able to unlock. So as you're playing the game, as you're getting kills, as you're taking objectives, you get points, and then you spend those points towards using one of those special characters. And from what I understand, at the beginning of the game, if you like if you're brand new to the game, you have a few of those special characters already unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean they're like the lower level one, like the some of the ones that are not as powerful. But those are already unlocked, and then you can spend your points during the match that you get during that match to use that character. But then there are more powerful special characters like Darth Vader, and like I think Han Solo as well, and a few others. But they're locked based on a different currency that you have to get through the loot boxes in order to purchase and unlock them, so that you can use them during a match.
Yeah. So like people have done the math on how long it will take to unlock everything if you play the game, or if you want to spend real money to just get crates, to get duplicates, so that you can eventually just unlock all those characters. So either you're gonna be spending $2,100 to eventually get everything unlocked, or you will be uh, wasting 4,500 hours of your life to uh, to acquire enough currency to unlock everything.
Yeah, and I think those are still averages just because the loot boxes are a little bit random.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if, like you mentioned earlier, if you do get duplicates, then you get more currency instead of nothing. But the loot boxes are still random, so there is a chance that it takes longer than that, or more money than that, or the opposite is true. You might be able to unlock things a lot quicker, but it's all random and it's pretty much unpredictable what you're going to be getting. And there was a lot of outrage about that, about how people are paying a full priced game, and some people are even paying more for the deluxe edition, like they're paying $80 for this game, and they don't have access to everything, and they still need to spend so much more money or so much more time to be able to unlock everything that's in the game. And I mean, unlocking systems are not new. The idea of leveling up your character and getting new unlocks based on that level, in particularly in first-person shooters like competitive multiplayer games like Call of Duty, have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So the concept of this is not necessarily new. It's just the fact that it's all that people are allowed to pay in order to progress faster. And so there will be people who
And it's
have
also
that
a
kind of
very
money.
slow system, so that it's people are more incentivized to pay.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, is they're building this game off of um, the impatient aspect of microtransactions. It's kind of like what mobile games do, where a lot of mobile games have microtransactions built into them. And the game itself is designed to be either not fun or take a very long time, unless you spend money to purchase power-ups or unlocks or things like that.
So since you mentioned the mobile games that use this type of system. I placed in the notes. It's like the second link on the notes. A developer named Damien Schubert, who he's worked yeah on those type of games that require that type of system for them to make profit. Like that's like the whole purpose of the game is to a free to play game to basically survive off those systems. And he was like he made a string of tweets explaining why EA is butchering the system and explaining how it's supposed to be done well within a mobile game, where they are supposed to, make all their profits from. Um, and like one thing they mentioned that in free to play games, especially when Zynga was really big and very profitable, when they're very successful, the right here says the Zynga Facebook games that used to spam your feed were a success if they had a conversion rate of 2%. That's right, a successful business model if 98% of your population never drops a dime. So, he's pointing out that with this system, this free to play system where you're trying to make money off the, like loot crates or whatever, like the the game needs to be designed for the 98% who are going to play for free and never drop a dime. Like that's going to be the normal progression system for those 98%. The 2% who's going to be dropping money, they are going to be the exception.
Yeah.
They're getting the whatever the convenience of getting through faster or whatever it is that they're purchasing. They're the exception. The 98% who's playing the game without paying, they are the normal player, and that's how you're supposed to design the game for them. And for a game like Battlefront 2, which is a full price game, a not free to play game, a full price game, but has the microtransactions on top of it. It's it just makes it even more disgusting because the fact that the regular play, which is the person who paid full price to get in, is still not even the regular play.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, you basically mentioned exactly what I was thinking too, is that a lot of these mobile games are free and they basically make all of their revenue on ads and microtransactions.
Mhm.
Whereas AAA games, they're being priced. People have to pay not 99 cents, not $5. They have to pay $60 to get into even just playing the game.
And
And then,
that's without tax and without the
yeah,
season pass.
without
And,
tax, without expansions, without deluxe digital items, if that's just the base price of the game.
yeah.
But I think it's also important to mention that games are in relative to like with inflation and past prices, games are actually cheaper because of inflations. I mean, like a $60 game back in the 90s would have probably been like over $100 now. I don't remember the exact conversion
Yeah.
for that inflation rate, but I mean, games are I mean, like no, they're not necessarily super expensive, but as they used to be. But at the
I mean,
same time,
the price was like during the PS2 and Xbox era, the normal price was 50, even though
yeah,
like before that there was like N64 games that was like 60 and 70.
yeah,
During Xbox and PS2 it was 50, and then like they're like okay, regular the standard price is gonna be 60 during 360 era, and like people flipped out, like lost their wigs, and after that, I guess due to the outcry, probably because the internet was a thing where people can outcry. Um, After that, like the price never went up again.
Yeah. So I mean, despite that, I think it's still ridiculous that a full priced game has the option to basically make yourself a better player by just paying money. And the real issue with this is that it's a multiplayer game, competitive multiplayer game. So there are going to be people who can't afford it or just ethically don't want to spend money to unlock in-game items and characters. And so those people are going to be at a disadvantage against anyone who does spend money. And then either they are going to be discouraged to keep playing, or they're going to feel obligated to pay to be able to enjoy the game that they've purchased already.
Yeah. From
And
what I've been, go on. Sorry.
no, I was just going to end with, I just think that's a little ridiculous on that part where it's not really balanced between, it's not balanced for a multiplayer game.
From what I've been hearing from like other podcasts, people who have played the game, is that the multiplayer, it's throwing that like currency system, the upgrade system in your face, like in between matches. Like, oh, here's your next unlock, and so there's like no way you can really play the game, the multiplayer, and try to avoid any of that. And on top of that, it sounds like the default weapons and everything that you have by default are not, like, those items are not very good, and it gets boring very fast if you don't get the better weapons, and the other characters. You get bored very fast with the multiplayer.
Yeah, that's the same thing that I've heard. But I do know that after all of this, actually, so this kind of all started through, I think, a Reddit post where someone made a comment about, someone posted about their disapproval of how EA and DICE are handling the loot box system, and then one of the EA representatives, I guess one of their social managers or whatever, posted a reply to that, made a comment on that post, and it's currently the most downvoted comment on Reddit in Reddit history. And like basically he was saying that we want this to provide a sense of accomplishment for being able to unlock all these characters, and that's why they're locked away like that. And obviously people didn't take that too kindly. And then ever since then, with all of the backlash that's been happening with this, EA actually, I guess not, I don't know if it was EA or DICE, but one of them, they released a statement saying that they were lowering the cost requirement to unlock to unlock all the characters by 75%. But then they also lowered the amount of points you get for completing the campaign by 75%. But I don't know if they lowered the number of points you get per match.
Well, like as of right now, they currently have they temporarily removed that system.
Yeah, so they did say that they're removing the payment system, and then later on in that statement, they also said it will be back.
Yeah,
it's like a temporary hold. So
yeah, like one thing that's that's not giving people confidence for EA is that it seems like all the numbers are basically arbitrary. Like they're basically just throwing numbers without like actually doing any research from what it appears. Because like they did an AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. And for people who aren't familiar with an AMA, basically a person's like, okay, I'm doing AMA, ask me any question and I'll answer it. And so, people on Reddit are asking them questions. And so one of the people, it says on here, give me 1 second. So Wasilski, or I don't know, I might be butchering his name, but no, sorry. Producer Paul Keslin, um, who is a producer. I guess during the AMA, he told Angry Joe, who is a popular gaming YouTuber, um, he said that they don't actually know the math behind the numbers for how long it takes to unlock everything for free, and that definitely, people don't find that encouraging. The fact that they don't know the math behind the numbers to unlock everything, like that should have been like the very first thing they wanted to figure out. Base, that should have been like the base number that they should figure out, and then use that to like base everything around it. How long do we want people to play the game to unlock everything? And then prestige and do everything else. It's like that should be like one of the first things that they figure out. But instead, it sounds like they just came up with some arbitrary number that's big. I mean, they even like lowered the number a couple times between the beta and then the what do you want to call it, the pre-release, because like they released the game for the people who paid for the ultra edition or whatever.
Yeah, so they have like 3 release dates essentially. People who are paying for Origin Access or EA Access on console, um, they basically get a week advance release. It's like a 10-hour demo, but they get it a week before the game releases. Then people who paid for the $80 deluxe edition got to play the game like 2 or 3 days before the official release. And then everyone else who paid for the $60 version gets it
The
on release.
peasants.
Yeah, the peasants. So I mean, basically, the more you're paying, the earlier you get to play the game.
Yeah. And so like they've already adjusted the number, I think a couple of times or so before they completely, or they temporarily removed it. But the fact that they don't know like what the math is behind that number, it sounds like they just arbitrarily picked a big number. Like they
Yeah,
had
they're
like
just
a wheel that they spun and then it landed at this number. Like, let's go with that.
yeah, they didn't really put any thought into it. They didn't design an algorithm to come up with these numbers. It's just, yeah, like you said, arbitrary numbers that they probably just picked because they, sounded big and sparse enough that it wasn't like, I don't know. It's, yeah, very arbitrary.
Which frankly sounds very irresponsible. I mean, they're like this huge company that's trying to come up with a system to get players to continue playing their game, this expensive AAA game, and they would need to fund their studio, and they're just coming up with this arbitrary number that can make or break the entire system. I mean, that just sounds very irresponsible. They need to like shuffle some people's titles around and move some chairs or something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Aside from all that, though, uh, like with them doing all these changes, I do want to say, I feel like the outrage for this is a bit outrageous. I feel like people are getting more mad than they should for this. I mean, like if I first of all, like there are people that uh they're wanting refunds for their pre-orders. It's like, why'd you even pre-order the game? Like, just don't pre-order games. Like people have been saying that for quite a while now. Don't pre-order games,
Yeah.
and people still haven't learned like why you pre-ordering games. So, I mean, I guess I can understand if you like bought the game, and then saw that this crazy system's in place, and then you're like, oh, I hate this, I want a refund. But um, the fact that people are just so outraged, so angry about this. I was like, just get your refund and move on. Like the Reddit posts that EA is making, as you mentioned, lowest or most negative um, points on a post in all Reddit history. I mean, that's including, like, if you include like political stuff and
Yeah.
things that actually involve people's lives. I mean, I suppose at least with political stuff, there's always like an opposing side that will support it, but you know, there are things that like actually affect people's lives, and they haven't gotten as low of a score as this kerfuffle with EA.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like it's like, yeah, it's definitely um not good what they did, and I don't want to defend what they did, but the fact that people are getting like they're going all Hulk over this, um chill out. um I don't know. Well, like what do you agree, or like, or what's your
Yeah, I
thoughts?
mean, I don't know. It's little scummy that companies like EA are trying to squeeze as much money out of people as they can.
Hmm.
So I mean, I understand people getting upset about this, and I can sympathize with that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
This is gonna like have EA win the Golden Poo Award again,
yeah,
and like EA is not the worst company in the world, or is it the worst company in the world or worst company in America? Which is the Golden Poo?
I think it's America.
Okay, but
I
either
don't
way,
know.
it's definitely not the worst company in America, because like if you look at like the other companies that's on the Golden Poo nominees, excuse me, like there are companies on there that actually ruin people's lives. Like um companies that give out loans and just mess with people's lives, and there's legitimately horrible companies on there that will affect and ruin people's lives, and the one company that wins is a video game company
Yeah, and I think the
that
issue
just angers
is
fans.
yeah, I think part of the issue is that the gaming community tends to be a bit more toxic than a lot of other communities. Maybe there are other extremely toxic communities too that we just don't see from the outside. But I mean, if you look at the things that a lot of a lot of a lot of game developers tend to get death threats, and for some of the smallest things, and I think social media has definitely made that issue more prevalent in over the past 5-ish years. But there's just a lot of toxicity and hatred in the gaming community. I'm not sure if it's the most toxic community, but there's a lot of it, and I think people tend to be
No, the
more
most toxic is Rick and Morty fans.
yeah, but the um, yeah, it's just it gets blown out of proportion, I think.
Hmm.
But I do understand that this is an issue. It's just not the biggest issue in the world,
Definitely
but
not.
um,
Star
it,
Wars. It's not like you just lost your home or you lost your job or just something ridiculous like that happened. Chill out.
But I do understand it is a big problem within the game industry, and Shadow of War also had people backlash about that as well because of the loot box system in there. And
but from what I understand with Shadow of War, I mean, I own it and I haven't really played much of it because I haven't had time. But like, you can completely ignore that system and you're fine. In fact, if you use the loot box system, it makes the game easier for you, and which in turn makes it a worse experience because the whole point of the game is to play it, have a challenge. Why do you want to like make the game easier? So
from what I heard, towards the end of Shadow of War, it actually becomes more difficult and grindy unless you buy some of the loot boxes.
Oh, okay.
So I think it progressively gets that way, but that's only what I've heard from another podcast. I haven't heard it from many other sources, so I can't really confirm that, but that's just what I heard.
Yeah. But one thing I did want to share while we're talking about EA, StarCraft, the Twitter for StarCraft decided to kick EA while they're down.
Oh yeah.
They did a series of tweets. Number of hours it takes to earn full StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty campaign, because it just went free to play. 0. Number of hours before you can play any co-op commander in StarCraft 2. 0. Number of pay-to-win mechanics in StarCraft 2. 0. Free to play now live. Yay. So I just thought that was funny. They're kicking a competitor while they're down. But yeah. Is there anything else about this EA Battlefront 2 kerfuffle you want to talk about?
Nope.
I think we covered it all.
Yeah.
I think people still need to chill out. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Chill out. All right. But one thing that definitely doesn't have a kerfuffle? That doesn't have microtransactions and loot boxes to ruin your day? What you pay for it once a month or once a year, and you get everything unlimited?
I like unlimited.
You want to take a guess? I'll give you 3 guesses.
3 guesses. Okay. Not Battlefront 2.
Sure. You're close.
Not Shadow of War.
Yep. And the final guess?
DreamHost?
How'd you know?
I have access to the notes.
Oh. DreamHost, their web service that offers unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, user-friendly interface. They're also optimized to use content managers such as WordPress and many more features. All that just for $7.95 a month. That's like around the price of a Subway sandwich. And use the promo code OUTOFCONtinues. That's one word, no spaces. Oh, wait, the set fee gets you free domain registration.
Very nice.
Yeah. Quick announcement. We can use more iTunes reviews. Please leave more iTunes reviews. It's one of the single most helpful things you do for the podcast is to leave iTunes reviews for us. We hardly have any iTunes reviews, and Apple goes by a week-by-week basis with the iTunes reviews. So if you can leave one for us, that would be really helpful. It'll help spread the word of the podcast. Because also Apple goes by quantity of reviews over quality. So please leave reviews. If you can't leave a review and you still want to help out the podcast, you can still do so by sharing the podcast on social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit. Give it a up vote, not a down vote. um, and tell a friend. And after that, we could go into the news. That's my news song. All right, there we go. News. So, what talking about one colossus in the game industry to another. Steam. So Steam, we've mentioned this before. They have issues with their store. Valve has issues with their store right now, and the one being, the big one being right now is that they got um, too many games. 6,000 games have been released on Steam this year.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And I'm like adjusting my lumbar support on my chair because it fell off. I'm sorry. You want to say something about this while I do that, Kevin?
Oh yeah. So that's a lot of games. And I think people have kind of noticed that over the last few years how there's been a lot more shovelware that's been coming up in the Steam library. And I think a lot of that also is just like uh, asset flips, which basically, I think we talked about this before, but basically,
Yep.
people are taking pre-made assets that they bought on Unity Store or got for free through something similar to that, and just putting them together into an environment, maybe adding some basic gameplay type things, and then just selling it, putting it up on the Steam store. And a lot of those,
A lot of times they don't even like change stuff around though. They just change the title of the game and that's it.
yeah. So there's just a lot of garbage on the Steam store, and it's partly because there's really no review process for these games anymore.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
they changed from Steam Greenlight to Steam Direct.
yeah,
Do you know the details on Steam Direct?
I
I don't
don't
really know it.
actually.
But this guy who posted on Twitter, Daniel Ahmed, he posted this chart showing, he's like, a quick update to the number of games released on Steam chart. This is as early as November. Uh, the year isn't over yet. There have already been more than 6,000 games released on Steam this year. That's almost as many as the number of games released between 2005 to 2015. So, like, the majority of games that are currently on Steam right now were released this year. Like, there's just tons and tons of garbage on Steam. Remember when Steam used to be great?
Yeah.
Trump was talking about making America great again, but apparently he made Steam terrible. I mean, look, it got bad when he went into office. So Trump, refocus on Steam, make Steam great again. Come on now, what are you doing?
Gotta set those priorities.
Yeah, I mean the math is there,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's really surprising that just this year there were as many games as there were over a course of 10 years. And that's just a lot of stuff. And I understand that there's, if you include some kind of investigative review process where someone has to go through and confirm the game, check for quality, that's a lot of work. Get the amount of time, money, and manpower that it would take to do that would be a lot. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not like Steam or sorry, Valve can't afford that, but it is a lot of work,
yeah.
and so they kind of bypass that whole process.
Like
And
I think rather than having them do it themselves, they can easily like outsource it to
yeah,
like some other company and pay them to like manually check every um applicant who wants to put in a game, because there's no way you can just allow some kind of automated system to continue this. It's obviously does not work. You need to have a real human being check if it's a real game, and also check if it's like, okay, is this game even like a quality game, or is this something that like someone threw together during their programming class, or did they like just steal assets from Unity Asset Store? Like they gotta put like at least a few hours into looking into it. And yeah, that's a very slow process considering that tons of people are um, submitting their games. But from what I understand, there's at least some sort of a application fee. Like I think at least $100 you have to pay to submit your game.
Yeah.
So considering that there's an application fee, that money can go towards the person who, who's checking for all this.
Mm-hmm.
That the money can go towards the paying the person who's checking for all this. So, I mean, yeah, it's a slow process, but at least they're gonna get paid. So it's not like they're gonna like hate their life.
Right. Yeah, and now that games are becoming more accessible from a development standpoint, I can understand that there's just a general increase in the amount of games that are being made. But just the fact that Steam has all these games on there, they definitely need to come up with some kind of solution to do like quality checks on games. And but then I guess there's going to be a lot of people who feel that even though their game is not necessarily quality, it's still something that they want to have available to sell.
I'm gonna submit Beware the Bully on Steam.
You totally should.
Sell it for $1.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's a difficult process, and they need to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
At least getting the asset flips off the store. Like
Yeah,
if there's a
it says
game,
right here, $100 fee for every Steam Direct applicant. But yeah.
so I mean, even if there's not like a way to just check the quality of all games, like even if it's just checking for asset flips, that's probably one of the key things that could help reduce this bloat and garbage.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next news article I have on here. Activision on Call of Duty movie. If the script and story isn't right, we don't do it. So Activision says the new Call of Duty movie has the potential to expand the franchise's audience, but from what's Tim Kilpin, who is he works with Activision's Consumer Products Group. So yeah, like basically they say anytime you take a franchise as storied as this, with this kind of legacy, and expand it to a new form factor, you have to be really careful. So frankly, if the script and the story isn't right, we don't do it. It's not one of those situations. Oh, Kevin, there's two of you in here.
Hi.
Anyways, he says it's not one of those situations where someone is saying, I don't care, just get it made. That's not what's happening. We don't think that if it's done well, it has the opportunity to expand the base off. We do think that if it's done well, it has the opportunity to expand the base audience beyond the traditional foundation that's the game appeals to. So, I mean, that's definitely promising that they only want to make the movie if it's going to be a quality movie. like so far, Activision released like a Skylanders cartoon on Netflix.
Oh
Let
yeah,
me
I forgot about
let
that.
me let me check the Rotten Tomatoes Skylanders Academy. I mean,
Oh,
from at least from the audience, it's 90%.
that's pretty good.
So yeah, it doesn't look like it has critic reviews, probably because it's a Netflix series. Um, but 90% on as far as the audience, that's a pretty good score. Um, and I mean, I didn't watch it because it looks like it's more of a kids thing than just for video game fans. Um, but considering that people actually like the Skylanders cartoon, it sounds like they're wanting, and also that they want to be careful with the Call of Duty um movie. It sounds like that they want to be careful with what they release. They want to be sure that's going to be good. That's the impression I'm getting, at least. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how personally excited I am for a Call of Duty movie, but
You
um,
probably won't even watch it.
if it gets good reviews, I'll probably watch it. But it's not something that I'm gonna make a point to take time watching unless there's something notable about it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if they want to make a movie and it turns out good, then I'm completely fine with that.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, at least that sounds promising. That
Yeah,
they don't wanna like be like, okay, we need to make this movie.
yeah.
Speaking of uh um video game movies, I saw when I went to see Justice League yesterday. There's the Tomb Raider movie. I mean Tomb Raider trailer for the movie, and it was pretty
Uh,
much the same trailer that was shown online before, but like they added a few more scenes,
hmm.
and it basically looked exactly like the video game, the I think 2012 video game, the reboot.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, all these scenes are exactly pulled from the game, except she didn't get impaled, so it's not accurate.
Not accurate. Yeah, she's not being brutally damaged by the
Yeah.
environment, so
It,
not
it
authentic.
yeah, the Tomb Raider movie should be like um the first Prince of Persia Sands of Time game, where like every time the prince died in Prince of Persia Sands of Time, he'd be like, no, 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 that's not how it went.
Yeah.
And the Tomb Raider movie should have Lara Croft just die constantly, and she's like, oh no, 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 that's not how it went. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about the Jeff Keighley's.
The Jeff Keighley's.
Yeah, the Jeff Keighley Awards. The video game awards 2017. So we have like all the nominees, which we could just go through this quickly since no one has won. And when after they do the awards, we're gonna definitely like go through it, more slowly. So there's no point in like doing it slowly twice.
Yeah.
So just skimming through.
One thing I do want to mention first is I have always been a little upset that the Game Awards stuff always happens before the year is even finished.
Hmm.
And I know there's only like a month away until the next year, but there are still games that are coming out, I think, in December that may never even get a chance to be a part of these lists because they aren't released yet. And I always think that the award shows should happen in the
Like
year that's following the year that they're
like in February or March.
Yeah, even if, yeah, like it doesn't even have to be super far into the year. It just needs to be like beginning of the following year.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I agree with you. I mean, like I also with video games, you gotta spend time with games
Yep, that was my next
to
point too.
like get, especially with multiplayer games. You can't like say a multiplayer is great if it came out in November and the awards is like late November or early December. Like how do you know if the game is good if you don't spend time with it? So
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's because like the game industry, there's like a big obsession with like releasing a game of the year edition of those games, and they want
Yeah.
to like release it like as soon as possible. I
No, they
think that
can wait an extra 2 or 3 months. That's not that big of a deal.
yeah, but yeah, let's skim through. So, Game of the Year nominees: Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, Player Known Battlegrounds, even though it's not even like officially released yet.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's supposed to release officially in December.
Super Mario Odyssey,
Mario.
Mario, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. So those are the nominees. All of them sound pretty good, except for like why Player Unknown's Battlegrounds is not even out
Well,
yet.
it kind of makes sense because that is currently the most popular game of all time,
Sure.
from the like concurrent players standpoint.
Mhm. Best game direction, which well, let me see if on the website that they have like a definition on what best game direction is. Awarded to a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Okay, that sounds very vague. it's I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's like
Like I always like found that confusing. Or they had like studio of the year. That was the thing that they used to have. So it's like, why is one studio of the year, but like the game of the year goes to a different game?
yeah.
But anyways, game direction goes to Wolfenstein 2, Resident Evil 7, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Best narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. What Remains of Edith Finch, which I've never even heard of. Giant Sparrow. Man, they make good games. So, is this game even out? I want to see the release date. It came out in April this year. How have I never heard of this game?
Yeah, it's pretty prominent on the Steam homepage. Well, I guess it depends on what um, other games and how it does the recommendation system.
I've never heard of this game. Um, Near Automata,
Yeah.
Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Wolfenstein 2, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Best art direction: Destiny 2, Cuphead, Zelda, Persona 5, Horizon. Best music: Destiny 2, Cuphead, Nier, Zelda, Mario, Persona 5. Best audio design, which is recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. So that's not like music, but like the rest of the sounds. Destiny 2, Hellblade, Resident Evil, Zelda, Mario. All right, that best performance. So this is they used to have like um best male performance and best female performance. This is for like their voice actors and all that. Now they've combined it into one category because it seemed like at a certain point it got a little bit forced for them to like just grab random either males or females just so they can fill the slots. So I think this is a little bit better. But they have Melina J for Hellblade as Senua. Laura Bailey from Uncharted as Nadine Ross. Claudia Black from Uncharted as Chloe Fraser. Brian Bloom from Wolfenstein 2 as BJ. And Ashley Birch from Horizon as Aloy. Alloy?
Alloy.
Aloy. Games for Impact, which is for a thought provoking game with a profound pro social meaning or message. So we have Please Knock on My Door, which I've never heard of. Night in
Either.
the Woods. Life is Strange Before the Storm. Bury Me, My Love. Never heard of that either. What Remains of Edith Finch. And Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. I know Hellblade and Night in the Woods both have to do with like mental illness, like but in completely different ways. So, I'm interested in playing them both. But best ongoing game. So what they define this as is awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. So basically, they keep updating the game. And also, it doesn't have to be a game from this year. It's just basically the fact that they've been updating it this year. Warframe, Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, Grand Theft Auto Online, Destiny 2, and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Have they been updating Destiny 2? It just came out. Oh well. Moving on. Best mobile game: Fire Emblem Heroes, Super Mario Run, Old Man's Journey. Never heard of that. Monument Valley 2. Still need to play that. And Hidden Folks. Hidden Folks looks like it's probably a Where's Waldo game. Best handheld game. What? Oh, okay. Last one's best mobile. Best handheld game. So basically, this is best game on Nintendo 3DS. Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World, Monster Hunter Stories, Metroid: Samus Returns, Ever Oasis, and Fire Emblem Echoes: Shadow of Valentia. Best VR/AR game. None of them because no one plays any. I mean, Super Hot VR, Star Trek: The Bridge Crew, Long Echo
Lone
slash
Echo.
Echo or yeah, Lone Echo slash Echo Arena, Farpoint, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Best action game: Prey, Neo, Destiny 2, Cuphead, Wolfenstein 2. Best action adventure game. That's just weird. Anyways, for best action/adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Okay, at least they define it. In the previous one, best actions for best game in the action genre focus on combat. So at least I think that's better that they at least give those definitions.
Yeah.
So this one is combining combat and traversals or puzzle solving. So this is Uncharted, Lost Legacy, Assassin's Creed Origins, Zelda, Mario, and Horizon. Best role playing game: we have South Park, Final Fantasy. Didn't Final Fantasy come out like last year? I think it came out December last year.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
See, this is the problem that you pointed out. With the games coming out in December is like they ended up flopping them over to the next year.
Yeah.
So, all right, South Park, Final Fantasy, Divinity: Original Sin 2, Nier, and Persona 5. Best fighting game, and one of these is not a fighting game, or I guess it can be. Tekken 7, Nidhogg 2. I didn't even know Nidhogg 2 came out. Marvel versus Capcom Infinite, Injustice 2, and Arms. Is Arms a fighting game? Best family game. The best game appropriate for family play irrespective of genre or platform. So I guess it's the best game that's rated E for everyone. Splatoon 2, Sonic Mania, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Mario Kart 8, and Mario Odyssey. Best strategy game. Oh man, I need to go faster. XCOM, Tooth and Tail, Total War Warhammer 2, Halo Wars 2, Mario and Rabbids. Best sports game, it's a sports game or a racing game. Best multiplayer, Fortnite, Call of Duty World at War 2. I mean, sorry, World War 2, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Destiny 2, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Most anticipated game. What? No, sorry, we're going. Best independent game. Pyre, Night in the Woods, Cuphead, What Remains of Edith Finch, Hellblade. Best student game, a bunch of games that no one has heard of because they're all student games. Trending gamer, no thank you. Best esports game, Rocket League, League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter Strike, Overwatch. So basically, a Valve game, a Blizzard game, or Rocket League. Best esports player, no thanks. We'll keep going. Best esports team, no thanks. Best debut indie game presented by Sitch Hydro. Okay. Slime Rancher, Mr. Shifty, Hollow Knight, Golf Story, or Cuphead. What the heck is Golf Story? Like some kind of golf game that's also like a sim and a story.
I think it's like an RPG-ish type thing. I don't remember much about it. There's
Best
a lot
China.
of categories this year.
Yeah, and last one's best Chinese game, which is Monument Valley 2, JX3 HD, Gumballs, Icy, and King of Glory. All right. Lots of categories. Lots of games that I feel like deserve mentioning. And overall, like I feel like it looks very consistent. I mean, like last year there, I mean not last year, but in the past there have been like inconsistencies. Like, oh, how come this game is nominated for like best action game, but or sorry, like why is this game nominated for game of the year, but it's not even nominated for best action game? You know, the genre that it's supposed to go into. So I've always found that weird and inconsistent, and also the fact that they took away like best studio. Like best studio just sounds so weird. Like if you have the game of the year, obviously you're the best studio. I mean that's how I see it. But yeah, we'll talk more about that once the Jeff Keighley's happen and we have the winners. So let's move on and talk about GameStop and their all you can play used game rental program called Power Pass, which was supposed to start on November 19th. For $60, you can pick up any pre-owned game and return to the store to swap it out for a new one or a different one, a different pre-owned game as often as you like for a period of 6 months. And then at the end of those 6 months, you can choose any game to keep, any used game to keep. So it's a rental system for 6 months where you can just basically rent like any used game for those 6 months, which sounds like a pretty good system. I mean, it gives people incentive to go to GameStop.
Yeah, that's actually not a terrible idea because in this way, at least for $60, you get to try several different games.
Yeah.
And like 6 months is plenty of time to at least try like 2 or 3 different games, maybe more if you put more time into it. And
Though they decided to put it on temporary pause. The system did not start yet. The launch didn't start yet because they want. They said due to a few program limitations that GameStop discovered. So I'm not sure what these limitations are because they didn't mention it. But this makes me think of like Blockbuster back in the day, in which myself and my friend Adam have like abused because they had program loopholes. So like back when I was back when Blockbuster was still a thing, and I was going there, like they had like these crazy deals that would contradict or not contradict, but like overlap. Like they would have buy 2 used games, get a third used game equal or lesser value for free. And at the same time, they had another deal where if you trade in 3 used games, then you get like $10 extra for credit, for store credit.
hmm.
So Adam and I were like flipping games within the same store. Like we'd buy it from the store, return it, sell it to that same store within the same day, and then come the next day after they processed the games again in their system and do it all over again. And we acquired hundreds of dollars of in-game, in-store credit. So it was obviously something that was overlooked by the people that came up with the program. So maybe GameStop realized that there's some kind of one of those uh small details in their contract was a loophole, so they had to adjust it. Who knows?
Yeah, there's that. And also, just the fact that if you're only limited to being able to pick up used games, and then you're trying different games over the course of 6 months, there's no guarantee that a used copy of the game you want will still be available. But
Well,
unless they allow you to pick it up from a different store, like if they,
I think the part where you get to keep a game, it's not like any of the games that you've tried. I think it's any used game that they have available.
oh, okay.
I mean, it doesn't seem like they're
Oh, okay, yeah, it just says you can choose any
specific.
game to keep, not any game
Yeah,
you tried to keep.
yeah, it's not specific on that, but that's what I think it means.
Okay.
But I mean, overall, I think this sounds like a good program. Like there aren't really uh rental places anymore. There are very few rental places now. There at least there's no chain rental places now. There's like small mom and pop places, and also Redbox is the closest thing to um a rental place.
Yeah.
But this kind of brings back physical rentals. So sounds like a good deal. Moving on.
Sure.
Let's talk about EA again. Let's at least say something kind of positive about them. I mean, it's not really positive, but it's not bad news. EA teases new action game, says it has never before seen gameplay elements. Action is clearly the place we're missing the most part. So basically, I don't even know what that's even supposed to mean. But they say that they have a gigantic GTA style action game. But like it's clearly a place where we're missing the most part. I don't even know. They say action is clearly the place we're missing the most part, and the reason we're building Anthem, and the new title that Jade Raymond's team at Motive is building in Montreal. That's the largest sector in gaming. It's one that we haven't spent a lot of time in because we were so focused on sports and first-person shooters. We feel like there is a huge opportunity there. So like I don't know if they mean like they're just working on like a pure action game, which they could have had that if they didn't close Visceral down, but
Right.
I
There was a
don't know.
perfectly good Star Wars action game that was being developed, but nope, they have to cancel it or close the studio that was making it. I don't know if it's even being
It's
shifted over to someone else. I don't
from
remember.
what they said, it sounded like they're shifting it over and reworking it.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're having a new game that they're gonna announce. I assume they're gonna announce that like E3 next year, but they're teasing it now. They're saying nothing about it other than it's GTA style, so that means it's open world. Um, that's basically it.
And obviously, it's supposed to have some never before seen gameplay elements,
Yeah, never before
according
seen.
to this article, at least the headline for this article.
Yeah, like if you pull out your credit card and put it in front of your camera, it will scan it and purchase stuff for you. Never foreseen gameplay elements.
They're going to build an AI that will determine when the best time to purchase loot boxes is. And it will automatically make those purchases for you and automatically open them and apply them to the game for you. So you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah,
And it just happens, and your game just magically gets better every time you start it up.
but no, serious though. I'm trying to think. EA doesn't really have an open world game like as of recently, do they? Can't really think of any.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And that's probably what they mean by GTA style action game. I
Yeah,
mean
because they
that's
were mentioning, like, when you're reading the quote, they were saying that they focus mostly on sports and first
shooters.
shooters. Yeah,
Yeah. So um,
the big ones being like Battlefield and now Battlefront, and uh, I don't know what else they.
they're gonna have a game where you get to explore San Francisco and you get to like hack things and get into cars, and they're gonna call it Lookout Cats.
Perfect. It's pre-order already done.
You heard it here first. Breaking news. Confirmed.
Any game except this one.
Yep. Pre-ordered twice. All right. Let's talk about some video game movie. Rampage. Did you see the trailer for this?
I did not. I'm actually watching it right now.
Um, Rampage, I'll let you watch that. You can like not listen to me and just like watch the trailer as I talk about this, Kevin.
Okay.
But anyways, Rampage, listeners at home, this game is an old arcade game by Midway. Basically, you have three characters, one that's basically a King Kong ripoff, one that's a Godzilla ripoff, and another one's a giant rat, which I'm not really too sure what the giant rat's supposed to be a ripoff of. But they're all giant monsters. And basically, you play as them and you destroy a city. And the objective is to get the most points by destroying the city. Like you climb up the buildings, you punch them. You can also like grab people that are running on the streets and squash them. Also, like if you beat up the other person, they shrink and turn into a human, and then you can squash them as well. So like basically the giant lizard, the giant rat, and the giant gorilla are all actually people that turned into monsters. It's kind of like the plot twist, kind of similar to Metroid actually being a girl. So yeah, Rampage being based off of that video game. starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson, has a giant gorilla, giant rat, and at the very end has a giant lizard. And just waiting on Kevin to come back here once he finishes watching the video so I can get his input.
All right, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you back? You watched it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I basically just said that what the premise, what the game is, and uh, I mentioned that the movie has Dwayne the Rock Johnson, a giant gorilla, giant rat, and at the very end, a giant lizard, similar to the game. But unlike the game, it seems like it's a mutated gorilla, probably a mutated rat, and a mutated lizard, rather than a person who has turned into those.
Yeah.
Because in the game, like once you beat up the other player, like they turn into like a naked guy or naked woman. The lizard's always a naked woman. The gorilla's a naked guy. I don't know about the rat. Probably a naked rat. But yeah. What are your thoughts, Kevin, since you just watched it right now?
It's interesting. I'm not necessarily sold on the movie, just based on that trailer. And also, I never played the arcade game, so I don't really have any like historical connection with this game at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally sold on it. It looks interesting.
I feel like it takes itself too seriously.
Yeah.
This should be like some kind of like a 80s or 90s spoof, spoofing off of like those old movies from that era, and like have like just goofy extreme stuff. I mean, like, and actually have like, oh, here are 3 people that are in a science lab and we're conducting experiments on them, and they turn into they turn into the giant rat and the giant gorilla and the giant lizard, and then like at the very end, the Rock also takes the serum and then turns into a giant The Rock. I mean, like something that doesn't take itself seriously at all, and like you just see a giant Dwayne The Rock Johnson fighting, basically King Kong and Godzilla. But instead, like this seems like it's taking itself way too seriously. Like dial down the seriousness. I can only see, I foresee bad reviews coming out for this movie. It doesn't look good at all, and that doesn't have me excited either.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in the movie. I mean, it just based off that trailer, but
come on now. What if at the end of the trailer, like, you see the monsters destroying the city, and then like you see a giant The Rock boot just step down. and then it's and then you know it's on, like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I probably still wouldn't watch it.
I saw a comment somewhere where someone was like, "Is this a prequel or a sequel to Jumanji?" Well, yeah. I mean, this movie was in talks for a long time, and it's finally here, and it looks pretty dumb.
Yeah.
But speaking of movies, this is not video game related, but comic related, and I'm into that stuff. Deadpool 2 dropped another teaser trailer. This is teaser trailer 2. And did you get to watch this,
I did
Kevin?
watch this.
What's your thoughts?
I'm pretty excited.
I do like the fact that they're making like the. Do you remember the first teaser, the one that he like goes into the phone booth and changes his clothes and the guy dies?
Yeah,
So I do like the fact that they're making teaser trailers that that aren't just like um
scenes
footage
from the
from the
movie.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
scenes from the movie that's cut together. Like
yeah,
they're making like these little shorts that are specifically for promoting the movie, and they're goofy, and it's kind of like fourth wall breaking. So it's definitely within his character.
yeah. One thing that I've always hated about trailers for movies in general is that they have started becoming just condensed versions of the movie itself. Like there's barely any um there's not really much of a incentive to go watch a movie after watching a trailer because it pretty much gives you a lot of the spoilers, or it gives you a lot of twists, or it gives you a lot of things that hint at major key plot points in the movie.
Hmm.
And I just think trailers are becoming a little bit worse because now it's just let's just put the movie together into 2 minutes or like a minute and a half and let's show this as the trailer, as opposed to, you know, I like what they're doing with this Deadpool 2 teasers because it, like you were mentioning, it's not just the scenes from the movie itself. It's actually they're making something special, unique, and specifically for the fact of teasing people to the movie. And they're much more interesting. They have more drawing power, I think.
Hmm.
To they're keeping me actually more interested in the movie itself because it's not just telling me what the movie is, and I that's what I want to experience watching the movie for, not to be told the whole thing about the movie when I'm figuring out if I want to see it or not. But this way, I think it's a lot better because now they're actually teasing it and they're doing a really good job with it, I think.
And like the fact that they're like spoofing Bob Ross. I mean,
Yeah.
like Bob Ross is kind of like breaking the fourth wall himself. I mean, he talks directly to the audience. Uh, and also like Bob Ross is like the millennials treasure at this point because like a lot of people are rediscovering Bob Ross due to like it was either like I think it was last year when there was like a 24-hour stream on Twitch with Bob Ross, and he got like super popular after that. Um
Yeah.
and it's just like Bob Ross is like someone that you can't help but love, but also like make fun of at the same time because he has like a very specific style,
Yeah.
and it's just they nailed it perfectly with him, even like having the names of um
The colors,
the
the
yeah
paint
the
colors
colors,
that he was saying.
yeah, because he would have that on the show, like
Yeah.
titanium white would show up on the bottom of the screen,
Yeah.
which is like the color he'd use like in every single painting. And
Yeah.
yeah,
But they
so
changed it in the teaser to make it fit more of the goofy side. Like, so instead of titanium white, it was Betty White.
yeah, I'm excited for this. I think it's supposed to be like July next year or something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But either way, like I like what they're doing with this. And was it last week we talked about Disney trying to buy Fox?
Yeah, that was last week.
Yeah, and the things like this, I doubt Marvel would do stuff like this if it was Disney buying out Fox and then making the Deadpool movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
think if they were I think we also have mentioned this, or at some point we had this conversation. I don't remember if it was with you or if it's someone else, but just the fact that the Deadpool movie is not being made by Marvel allows it to be what more accurate and more genuine to Deadpool himself, as opposed to making it more family oriented and friendly.
Yeah.
Because that's something that would probably be a restriction if Disney owned the rights to make the Deadpool movie. They would probably need it to fit within the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and make it more family friendly, more kid friendly, and family oriented, and that would have completely gone against everything that Deadpool is, and it would have just not made a very good movie, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah. Anyways, let's wrap things up. Hello, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Saturday morning, or for some of you, Saturday afternoon. Let's wrap this up. We got some listener feedback. This person wrote in to podcast@africannews.com. Podcast@africannews.com is our email address. You can write in just like this gentleman, Staffa. Staffa says, "Hey, Staffa, where's all your listener feedback? Great show. Love you, Staffa." Thank you, Staffa, for writing in.
Such a nice guy.
Thank you for writing in. I don't know where all the feedback is, but I have faith. I have confidence. It'll be here. So, anyways, let's wrap things up. If you enjoy what you've been hearing, you can support us by liking us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, leave an iTunes review, subscribe to Google Play Music, or you can contact by email. That's podcast@africannews.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/AfricanNews. All those things I just said, they can be found on the website. That's www.africannews.com. You can give me a tweet. I am at SayedStafa. That's at SayedStafa. I'm not sure if I'll have a podcast next week or not. I would like to say I will. Depends on Ali, because I want him to be on episode 300. But I mean, it's also a bit, extended weekend, so I think we should be able to have a podcast. Maybe it'll go up even earlier. We'll see. But yeah, there's the possibility we might have a podcast, but most likely we should have a podcast. I'd like to thank my guest host for joining me today, who stopped his car winterizing just so he could come over here and talk about EA. Kevin.
Always glad to be on the podcast, Staffa.
And with that said, I'm your host, Staffa. I'll see you guys on episode 300. What?
It's a huge milestone.
300 episodes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click here to subscribe. Click here for last week's episode, and click over here for the episode before that.